3. Welcome to Tigers SRD, MotorCityBengals.com and the Overtime Media Network. I'm Rogelio Castillo alongside Miss Chris Brown. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeartMedia, Stitcher, and Google Play. I want to personally thank the review we got last week, which was Peter Waldo, who has now left us. I didn't know it was possible, Chris, that 4 different times you can leave reviews. And this time he was, love the show. It's funny, but I'm listening to Locked On Tigers more because they go 5 days a week. And so I was like, okay, we've been doing more shows a week, but thanks for the notice. But no, and all kidding aside, I did say, if you want to write a review, I don't care how bad it is, it's fine. Because Chris got a comment about your audio sound like you're in a tunnel during the Dickerson.
Yeah, my friend Rachel said you sound like you're in a tunnel. I don't know how I sound like now. I'm trying to use the microphone again.
No, you sound good. So just a few things I want to get out of the way. So if you go to our Patreon, Tigers SRD Patreon, or patreon.com/Tigers SRD, you can subscribe to us. So we had a couple new subscribers. So thank you. Really appreciate it. It goes to all the up costs of this podcast, including our wonderful soundboard that I've been messing around with and getting some more comfortable with. And Chris sent me some audio that we'll be playing later that will make everybody crack up. So our guests this evening are Janice and Sam Sherman, who are the hosts of the Northside Sox podcast, which I'll get to in a second because I was kind of confused but I'll explain in a second. Janice also writes for Baseball Prospectus, Southside Sox, and she was recently hired at NBC Sports Edge, which, first and foremost, welcome to the podcast. And second, congratulations on that, Janice.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's definitely been a fun 2-ish weeks. I've been just immersed in the fantasy baseball world. I'm not a fantasy baseball person at all, but I now I am. I feel as if I've studied into players and teams I typically would have no idea where to start before. So for some reason now I know a lot about the Colorado Rockies of all teams. I've also studied the Royals of all teams quite a bit. Not because I want to. Well, I want to. AL Central. It isn't my personal interest to know what the Royals are doing. But just professionally too, it's been an interesting journey so far. But yeah, simultaneously, I've been contributing to Southside Sox for about 2 years now. Sam and I do Northside Sox. It's a podcast that's relatively in its infancy. I think we've only done like 12 episodes so far. We actually just recorded tonight. We recorded with Eric Steven, who is an Angels writer, also for SB Nation too. So we've just been getting all sorts of guests and just reaching out to people across the blogosphere. So it's been a really interesting time running our little show.
The reason why I was kind of confused by the name, because I was like, is there Southside Pox or Southside podcast already, or is it just? That's why I was confused about the name, because it's in Northside rather.
Yeah. So, Northside Sox is essentially our thing. The whole bit, I think the original name of the podcast was Off the Beat with Janice and Sam, because we're former beat writers. We're not beat writers anymore. But we were I don't think anyone's going to get this. So we're just sort of what sort of unifies us as an identity. And so to kind of keep, the whole Southside Sox brand, we're okay, so we both live on the north side of Chicago, which is Cubs territory, of course. But we just kind of wanted to convey the image that, we've got both sides of town covered. So north side, south side, socks are all over. Socks are good. Everyone should wear socks. They're fantastic.
So, okay, that makes a lot of sense then. So the first question we have, and Chris has done this question from his podcast, so we kind of put it in our artist, because Chris used to do a podcast called Bad Hop Radio, which has one of the greatest logos of all time. And if I can find a picture, I'll share it at some point. It's basically the MLB logo, but the guy making an error and the ball comes to his face. It's so sweet. But without further ado, Chris, take it away.
Yeah, guys, thanks for joining us. We always ask our guests about their earliest baseball memory. So I don't know which one of you wants to go first, but we'd like to hear both of them.
Yeah. So that's I was thinking about this a little bit because it's tough. And there's a few things that I can kind of, I guess, pick, but I guess it wouldn't, that would defeat the purpose of the first one. But I don't know exactly the first one, but a very early baseball memory that I have is being at Marlins spring training in Florida. This is, I don't know what year this would have been. I know Jack McKean was still the manager of the Marlins at the time. And like, again, this is like very, like, it's funny because as I'm talking about it now, like I have certain, there's like the facts may not all make sense, but that kind of speaks to how long ago this was for me. And I remember Josh Beckett. I wanted to get Josh Beckett's autograph, and I was like little kid, and I walked up, and a bunch of kids walked up to Josh Beckett to get his autograph, and he was like, "All right, I'll be right back. I'll be right back," and he never came back. But Dontrell Willis signed for like an hour, and he was awesome. So that I know that's a pretty insignificant baseball memory, but I just remembered at that time I never forgot Josh Beckett. Or forgave Josh Beckett. I'll forgive him today. I'll let it go today for the sake of the pod.
Would not take that to the grave.
But Dontrell Willis. Shout out to Dontrell Willis for signing.
That must have been 2003 or so.
Yeah, it was. I guess it. Yeah, I have. Even just talking about it then, I haven't like recalled that story for a long time. So that's I would have been 2000. If it was 2003, I was 10. So
nice.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Oh my goodness. I keep forgetting how much younger you are than me. It's just like I was 17 in 2003. Like, oh my God. I guess
23. I was 23.
Oh.
I was
my
22. I was 22, so
we have
Oh
a
my
variety
goodness.
of ages, you know.
See, this is
Yeah,
different.
it-
This didn't used to look like this.
Yeah, this is an intergenerational show. I love it. This is great. See, my earliest baseball memory, so quite literally with baseball, I remember that there were some kids playing in a sandlot game that in a field adjacent to my house. And I vaguely knew what was going on. I think I might have been like maybe 5 or 6. So I had a vague just knowledge of what baseball was. And so like I wanted to play with them. And so like what I did, like I ran and like crouched behind home plate and told them that like I want to catch the ball. And they were like, "What?" Like, no, you can't catch the ball. Like are you stupid? Well, and so I was like, well, I mean, like I'm 5. So I mean, I from what I remember, they still let me play, but they're like, no, you can't be the catcher. Just like go stand like in the outfield. And so I was like, so what do I do? And someone was like, if someone hits a ball, then go get it. I don't think I caught any balls that day, and I also don't think I ever played with those kids ever again. But yeah, that is quite literally my earliest baseball memory. So I just imposed myself on some random sandlot team. Just kind of this maybe 3.5 foot tall 5-year-old like wanting to be a left-handed catcher for a sandlot team. So
they never forgot you.
Yeah, I know they missed out on me, really. You know, my agent should have been there. Like I definitely should have negotiated a better deal, but man,
Well, that's one of the fun things about that question is that everybody's got a different, like, you know, some people it was a game, some people it was playing, some people it was like, you know, hanging out with their granddad. It's fun. Like, that those are both ones we haven't heard before. I don't think we've heard anybody from spring training or anybody from just running around with the kids in the neighborhood. So thank you.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome. Especially a left-handed catcher. I don't think we've ever had a left-handed catcher on the podcast. I'm pretty sure.
Did I?
Yeah, I'm not definitely did not catch. Just like when I actually learned what baseball was, I was like, no, I can't catch. Like absolutely not. Just like squatting in that position for long periods of time, not for me, not for my knees. Like maybe if I was like Megan the Stallion and just like be able to like just get down that low. Like I always think that like she would be the perfect baseball catcher in my opinion. Just the fact that she can crouch that low and just stay there for long periods of time. Like I would throw a bullpen to Megan the Stallion.
That's an amazing observation. We're not taking advantage of all the twerking of the last decade or so.
I could also say that's a first for the podcast that Megan Thee Stallion has come up on this podcast, and
Oh.
that's an angle I didn't even think about that, because as a former catcher myself, it's one of those things where when I did that, the little Russian dance where you squat down, I was really good at it until I hit my 30s, and then when I stopped DJing weddings and I would do it, then after a while, like all of a sudden the next day, oh, cool, my knee swelled up. That's cool, just. I don't miss like even now when we do beer league softball, I'm like, I don't even want to do it. And you don't even have to squat down. It's just at that point you're like, okay, I'm just gonna take the ball, and it's not the same. So, but
that's the problem. Yeah. You go down and then you forget. You're like, oh yeah, I have to do the going up part now.
Yeah. Where's those glucose pills? Like those glucose pills are coming in handy now. Where I'm like, all right, pop 2 of these and I'll be good to go for the weekend. Yeah. So, but yeah, quite a bit has happened today. There was a lot of, in addition to baseball news, Nick Anderson right before the podcast. Solder, he's going to be out for a while. We'll get to the unfortunate news that I saw Janice rage about possibly earlier, and yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. But the one thing that, in terms of pop culture, if you haven't watched Arrested Development or Archer, and there's some people in our audience I know for a fact that are not familiar with that show, but actress or actor Jessica Walter passed away today, and she is one of the funniest. It just was like a role, and something I was talking about before, and Chris told me that she was on the show Dinosaurs, or I forget who told me that, but that was just a pretty interesting factoid. But we did a little supercut of some of the best lines she had from Arrested Development.
Seal was mingling with the elite of the Latino Television Academy.
Can I get a vodka tonic, please? I'd like a vodka tonic, please. Vodka tonic, please. A sea of waiters and no one will take a drink order. And that goes into storage, right? Not into your apartment.
Okay.
What's Spanish for I know you speak English? Michael, the little Korean, is here and I don't know what to do with him. At least I think it's a him. You've got to strip them down to next to nothing before you can even tell. I was almost attacked last night in my own home. I walk in and there's a colored man in my kitchen.
Colored? What color was he exactly?
Blue.
So I just want to acknowledge that, because she some of the lines, even I didn't want to go into the Archer stuff, but yeah. So unfortunately she passed away today. But other than that, I mean, in terms of even concerning the baseball side of things, before we get to our segments, really just wanted to ask about so far what your spring training observations. Obviously, there's been a lot going on with in terms of, again, spring training stats, whether they matter or not. I mean, there's Andrew Vaughn right now in Chicago is just going to be the next all-star, possibly rookie of the year. Although, and Sam and Chris before the podcast were saying he's going to be playing left field. He's ever done it, and so I had no knowledge he didn't play before and left. So
he doesn't. He has no experience.
Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, like zero experience.
Zero.
So I taking grounders at third for a while, didn't they? Like last year, I thought. But
and that's the thing. Even at third base, it was like I don't think so. I think
he filled in when Moncada was out at the beginning of the year at third, and it did not work out well.
So let me ask you this. Let me ask you both this question. Then, is it one of those things where MLB pipeline was throwing him a bone? I mean, in terms of A, if he threw him a bone for being possible rookie of the year, and B, how good has he looked legitimately?
Yeah, so when it comes to his defense, he's marked as being a fantastic defender, but that's only isolated to first base. So that's pretty much the only position he's played. The fact that they're suggesting that he plays left field is just, I don't know, at face value, it's absolutely preposterous to me. He's never played a level of ball over like high A ball. And so while like I don't doubt that he'll be productive at the major league level, I feel as if it might be a little far-fetched to have him learn another position in his rookie season. Yeah, I love Andrew Vaughn. I love what I've seen from him this spring, but admittedly, the whole Eloy Jimenez news has kind of put all of White Sox Twitter, including myself, in a tizzy. But I was telling Sam earlier that if the White Sox were going to absorb some kind of injury this early in the year, it might as well be on the offense side, just mainly because Eloy was not a great defender. He never has been. Essentially, he is a future DH. He should be a past DH, a current DH. But alas, we need someone to play in left field. So yeah, I feel as if the lineup can definitely compensate for any run production lost by Eloy's bat. But otherwise, yeah, the whole thing is that pitching needs to lock it up.
There's I think that it was definitely like a dark day for Sox fans, for Sox Twitter as far as that. But like Janice had mentioned, I think that is an area that they can kind of absorb it a little bit, even though yes, Eloy was projected to hit anywhere from 35 to 40 home runs this season. It's tough to take that out of the lineup. As far as Andrew Vaughn's concerned, yeah, sorry, Janice. As far as Andrew Vaughn is concerned, yeah, I think the bat, there's no doubt, is going to play. I think pretty quickly. I think that's why you'll see some of those Rookie of the Year predictions for him. I do think it complicates things, as Janice said, if he's going to have to learn a position he's never played before, which it seems like they're probably rolling into the season looking to do after today. So we'll see on that. But I have doubts about like those college bats, only because the last time that the Sox did it, well, not the last time, Nick Madrigal's obviously looking pretty good so far. But if you look back to Zach Collins, who they took out of Miami, a few years back, he was this guy that was supposed to be this no doubt, sure thing at the plate. And he's, granted, not with a ton of sample size. He can't exactly hit anything with off speed, not exactly, and also maybe can't catch. But after today, he'll probably be the designated hitter for a majority of the season. So we'll see what happens there. So I say that to say that I was a little bit skeptical just because just for some reason, something about Zach Collins. We had on our podcast, we had Jim Callis on from MLB Pipeline, a couple months ago, and he assured me that Andrew Vaughn is a very different hitter than Zach Collins, and has far higher expectations for him. So I hope that's the case.
From Jim. Yeah.
Yes, Jim calmed me a little bit.
He's such a good dude to have on too.
A quick note on Zach Collins is that he's actually doing really well in spring.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, though, Zach Collins is historically a really great spring hitter. But then the regular season hits, and it's definitely a scam. Definitely kind of like a spam text you'll get in the middle of the day of someone like wanting your PayPal information and wanting to wire you $2,000. Like that is the baseball equivalent of getting a spam text asking for your credit card information is Zach Collins. I honestly, I mean, if he continues the momentum he's done this spring and actually hits well for a change, I will happily eat crow. But so far in like last year, his regular season wasn't really all that great. Postseason also not that great as well. And
he did get a postseason at bat, though.
He did. He got a postseason at bat to the chagrin of myself, Sam, and maybe like all of White Sox fandom. But anyway.
The one thing that stood out to me so far about the White Sox is their bullpen. And last year, this is a bullpen that it had some parts, but didn't have the whole thing. And I know Tony La Russa is trying to steal more, use the La Russa ball, whatever terminology you want, buzzword you want to use for it. But you look at that back end, and even without Liam Hendricks, I mean, this is a stacked pen. I mean, Michael Holpeck, who is just coming back from surgery, correct? This year, was it? Yeah. So you're looking at, he's just airing it out. You have Evan Marshall, who I'm a big fan of, just because he just seems to always get it done.
Mm-hmm.
But is that going to be the strength of this team? Even though the rotation, I mean, Dylan Cease, I know he pitched well today. I saw that he pitched his performance pitch. He's going to be a solid number 4 starter. But I think the White Sox bullpen seems to be I think it's gonna be the big difference between that and the rotation this year. I think it looks like the bullpen's gonna be taking up better than the rotation.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a huge strength, is that bullpen. Everyone just seems to be good, just as an understatement. And I think even last year too, there were a couple of guys that made their major league debuts. Cody Hoyer, Matt Foster, Garrett Crochet, a handful of all those guys all had whips under one. So those guys were just completely locking it in. And also too, yeah, Evan Marshall as a setup man, I think is going to be so fantastic. Same thing, like Aaron Bummer as well. Jace Fry, who is out. I don't know when he's coming back, but yeah, also too, he's another lefty that has a pretty formidable arm as well. But yeah, overall, just the pen is just so incredibly like scary. And when you think of just all those guys getting to Liam Hendricks, again, that's exactly why the White Sox decided to dish out that weird contract to him. He's got like just such elite electric stuff. And so if he pitches well for 3 years, yeah, then he gets all that money. And then the fourth year, he's paid, I think, like $14 million to either pitch that fourth year or $14 million to get lost. So we were talking about that on the last podcast we were on. But yeah, the pen looks good.
Yeah, I mean, Janice hit on all the points there. I think for me, and this is, I guess, like my hot take coming off of today, going back to this idea that after Eloy's injury, the way that I think that I think, you know, obviously it'd be stupid to say that it's not a negative. It's very bad that they lost that middle of the order bat. But again, going back to this idea that they can potentially absorb that hit. And I just say that because I still think the offense is going to be really, really good and really, really scary. So what you're then relying on is, again, that starting pitching. And I think that bullpen, which, again, if they hopefully stay healthy, is going to be locked down. So in theory, I guess the hot take is that I wasn't totally, I was sad that we're not going to be able to see Eloy this season in that lineup, at least for a majority of it. But on the other side of it, you look at that starting pitching staff and the depth there, something that the White Sox have not had for several years, and that bullpen that kind of just weirdly organically came together even before the Hendricks signing, which I think was another kind of bonus of it. It was a lot of honestly homegrown bullpen for the most part, and I think almost entirely. So I think that's going to be, it needs to be kind of as good as it is on paper.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot to be said about having a homegrown bullpen because, to me at least, when you're paying for guys who are, it's kind of risk past the age of 30 sometimes with like a high leverage reliever. When I saw the money thrown at Liam Hendricks, I was a little bit admittedly shocked, and I understand why it was done, but I thought because the White Sox have done a really good job in the last couple of years of just getting value out of their late round draft picks of developing pitching. They've done a really good job of developing pitching as a whole. And it's just, to me, I just thought that, I thought that maybe perhaps one of the guys last year would get another, just a closer opportunity. But Hendricks kind of, if the White Sox are going to make a postseason push, then I totally get it, And so, and that being said, it's just, Chris, one of the things about this White Sox team that you and I have talked about is the terror of that lineup. Tim Anderson, one of the plays that stood out to me last year was when Tim Anderson stepped out of the batter's box, was like, you know what, I'm going to go this way. And I guess was it Matt Boyd, Chris?
I think it was Matthew Boyd. He changed where he was standing in the batter's box and then hit a home run.
That sounds about right. Yeah. Cause Tim Anderson crushes lefties. Mm-hmm. So that makes a lot of sense.
So I just want to say, from an outside perspective, I mean, I absolutely look at the White Sox as a World Series contender. But there are a couple of Eloy Jimenez things that I think of. First of all, his play when he fell into the net, the Christian Yelich inside the park home run. It's one of my favorite baseball bloopers of the last few years. He fell in and needed the medic alert bracelet to get out.
Yeah, you can't help but just laugh at that. You can't get mad. I mean, like I might have been mad for like 30 seconds, but then I'm just like, oh my god, you're like, oh, this fucking guy. Oh god.
The Tigers there have been several Tigers infielders who've had basically balls bounce out of their gloves and over the walls in the last few years, and you're just like, yep, that sounds about right. One other thing I wanted to point out, and I'm not the first person to say this, but I remember about 6 years ago, there was a left fielder in Chicago, very young left fielder who was expected to be a big part of the offense and got injured in like the first or second game of the year. And his team still went on to make the playoffs, and he came back to help them in the postseason, and they won the World Series. So, I mean, it's Kyle Schwarber. You don't really want to think about that, but still, I think, it can be done.
Yeah, I did see that brought up today, and I think that's it's an interesting comp there. And I think to Schwarber's credit, even just, I know it's not completely related as far as going off in this direction, but I think Schwarber became an acceptable outfielder. He was an acceptable left fielder, whereas Eloy, I'd say acceptable top, at the top, as far as barely. But Eloy, I don't know if that's ever going to happen, just because I don't know. And again, it's just the mental lapses of even just doing something like he did in the game yesterday. And again, he was going after a home. It's easier for me to say sitting here, never having played professional or any high level of baseball. But being in the moment, whatever. But yeah, I just think that we were watching was a DH, a pure DH playing in the outfield.
And it's one of those things too, where even like, for example, we have Victor Reyes in Detroit. Seems like it's this nonstop debate about whether he's a fourth outfielder or not, whether they're going to carry him or not. Because Detroit with Eric, or I almost said Erica Badu. Because it's better call Tyrone. Better call Tyrone there. Yeah. So that it's Akil Badu taking over spring training, and with that, and Victor Reyes is one of those outfielders that just it kind of looks like it's always an adventure for him when he looks like it's like a Frankenstein kind of thing, walk out there. But one last before we get to our segments is Lance Lynn, and I thought that was kind of a very under the radar kind of trade in a sense that among so much stuff was going on with Trevor Bauer, which just crap. Anyway, it was going on, and Lance Lynn has quietly done a pretty good job in Texas last couple of seasons. But I thought it was a really good trade to bolster a rotation that we talked about earlier. I mean, Carlos Rondon coming back kind of shocked me because I actually wanted him as a low end target for the Tigers, but
you and me both. I honestly thought that he would have been perfect on a team like the Tigers or the Cubs. I kind of viewed him as a reclamation project for another organization because I had seen enough of him at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah, Carson Fulmer, I mean, is another example of another. How many teams have gone through 5 in the last year? God.
Yeah, and he actually pitched against the White Sox today as a member of the Reds. So it was interesting to see an old friend come back. Yeah, he's sort of like I don't know, the nearest pop culture reference I can make. I'm just thinking of like Doctor Who, where he just like keeps coming back in like different incarnations every time. So like he looks like David Tennant one day, and then he's Matt Smith the next, and then he's Peter Capaldi the day afterwards.
Or he's that late 70s Doctor Who with all the hair just like that, kind of thing. So I forgot the name of that. That was a Doctor Who I grew up with. Channel we didn't have cable, so we had public television, and Doctor Who was on all the time, and I had no idea what was going on because I tried watching that show, and it was at that time a little bit above my head. But at any rate, so let's go into the segments, and we have a segment that for anybody who's new listening, we have one that's called Inside the Numbers.
It's time for Rogelio and Chris to go inside the numbers.
All right, so Chris, why don't you start well, actually, you know what? I'm sorry, I'm being rude. Janice, you have an inside number for us this evening.
Yes. I have prepared a stat that I really do like. I think I showed it to Sam before I came on with you guys, and he said nothing. He actually didn't reply to this text. So I'm
Really?
assuming it's because you were blown away by the stat I told you, or wait, you just wait. Oh yeah, yeah. You didn't address it directly, but anyway,
I just went on.
yeah, you just went on and started rambling about something else. But anyway, so the stat that I like to bring up, so Dylan Cease, who pitched for the White Sox today, currently has a 1.05 WHIP, which for him is really good considering his historic wildness. One of the big problems with Cease is that he tends to be really lucky, where last year, I believe his ERA at face value looked really good. I think it was like something in the threes, but his FIP was twice that. So essentially, yeah, issues with his command, but he's been working with new White Sox pitching coach and yeah, savior Ethan Katz. So the whole tagline this year is "Katz will fix him." It looks as if Katz is in the process of at least fixing him. I don't know if I want to deem Dylan Cease as being fixed right now, but anyway, from what I've seen so far, I really like what I've seen from Dylan Cease.
Yeah, we have Fetter Made right now. That's our big thing because Chris Fetter, and so we I fashioned the Better Made potato chips logo and put Fetter Made because the biggest he was one of the biggest acquired things that the Tigers did this offseason, and he's given them all pitching plan. But everybody thinks that Fetter's going to fix it, but it is better than Rick Anderson, who literally did nothing. So, but anyway, Sam, what's your inside number?
My inside the number is a little bit different. There's something called Matt Reynolds, who's a spring training roster dude for the White Sox, and I have seen his name like when I've looked at like box scores. I have no idea who he is, but I did find something interesting about him today as far as the spring training stats are concerned. He's having a rough spring training. I don't think he's going to make the big league roster coming out of camp, and here's why. Well, there's probably other reasons, but if you go behind the numbers, here's why. He's had 24 at bats. He's struck out 14 times. Leads the team in strikeouts in the spring. Again, in 24 at bats. Does have a couple home runs, 4 RBIs. Got an OPS of 708. But the other thing is I was curious, so I looked into who's leading the spring in errors. Tim Anderson has 4 errors, which we'll see if he can clean that up, but doesn't lead. Matt Reynolds, shortstop Matt Reynolds, leads the team with 5 errors in the spring. So he's having a rough spring. Again, I can't say I knew much about Matt Reynolds unless I'm just completely blanking and maybe he was somewhere else and I was like, oh, I know that guy. But yeah, he was a 2nd round pick by the Mets in 2012, and now he's leading the White Sox in strikeouts and errors here in spring training 2021.
I do have to admit that when you texted me about Matt Reynolds, my first reaction was who?
Yeah, because I never heard of him either.
Yeah. So yeah, non-roster invitee. If you would have told me that name, I would have guessed it was like a character on It's Always Sunny. But yeah. Yeah. There was Dennis, Sweet D, and Matt. Yeah, right. So
the long lost third brother, right?
Yeah.
I think Charlie Day would have a better spring than Matt Reynolds has had so far, to be honest, or at least
Whatever the night man, him being the night man would have had a better idea.
Yeah.
Only plays during night games. There you go. It's specifically written in his contract. It's like, no, if you want to play a 105 game, you have to sign the day man.
That would have been the Cubs. That would have been Cubs. The Cubs guy circa to what 1988 when Cubs put the lights in, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah. So, Chris, what's your inside number?
I'll just say that a while back, my buddy Perry and I were going to write some sort of baseball vampire crossover where he got traded to the Cubs and had to quit because he couldn't play during the day. But so my inside the number is 95.8. That is the average four-seam fastball velocity from Casey Mize this spring before tonight's start.
Nice.
Yeah, we know velocity is just one part of success for a fastball. It doesn't really do you much if it's straight. But there were only 6 starters in the majors who averaged 96.8 or 95.8 or higher last year. Jacob deGrom, Luis Castillo, Denelson Lamet, Zach Wheeler, Garrett Cole, and Brandon Woodruff. And that's also tied for the hardest fastball ever by a Tigers pitcher.
That's some good company right there.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of hard throwers there. I mean, like I said, it doesn't necessarily mean anything. And so far, the results in Mize's career have been kind of ugly. But I don't know. I think people get too caught up in the results. We talk about that on the flip side with Gil Badu this spring, the Tigers' Rule 5 pick. He's had good results, but you're trying to look at stuff, and in his case, the tools and the the capacity to survive at the major level. And you watch Casey Mize, and he makes some mistakes that make you smack your head against the wall, but the stuff is all there, and we definitely saw it on display tonight. So I just think people they kind of want their he's an overall pick, they expect him to come up and be a Cy Young winner immediately, and it takes time. The major leagues are hard, so I don't know. I'm like saying, maybe it won't work out for him, but it won't be because of a lack of stuff.
Yeah, he's got some really great stuff. I remember seeing him last year, and I just thought, dang, the Tigers' rotation is going to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he debuted against the White Sox, I think.
That's
he
right.
did.
Yeah.
I actually believe I was at that game. I might have been, because I do remember that there was a surplus of Tigers media in the press box for that debut, and it was also the same season, or the same season. It might have been the same homestand where a Tarek Skubal debuted too.
Yep.
That's correct. Yeah.
I just remember all of the media hype surrounding those two guys. Super cool.
Yeah, and the thing is too is I freely admit that I'm one of those people that when because I know dealing with sports talk people, when they do a hot take, whatever, they never admit when they're wrong. I'll admit that I was wrong. I thought that Casey Mize, I think he solidified the fifth spot in the rotation this evening. And the reason why I thought that he wasn't going to make the rotation is because of sequencing and like just throwing when it's an 0-2 pitch, I'll just throw a meatball down the middle, it'll be fine. And those kind of little things he could work on in Toledo, considering that he's not been above Double-A. So that's what my mindset was. But then again, you look at that rotation right now for the Tigers. You look at just the fact that Matt Manning's not ready to go, and Derek Holland, I think he's better suited out of the bullpen. And you saw his numbers last year in Pittsburgh when he was starting; it was awful. And so he can get right-handers out better, and I think he'd be a much better effective reliever that way. And as far as StatCast numbers are concerned, one of the things that before I get to my inside number, which we heard on the broadcast yesterday, it cracked me up that Chris Mikowski, who's a beat writer, sits in with Dan Dickerson, the voice of the Tigers. He made this big point, and I thought it was kind of like a dick move in some ways to point out that, the StatCast, the Riley Green hardest hit ball, second hardest hit in history, that didn't count because it's spring training. Well, StatCast recorded it. StatCast posted it. So it counts for something.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, why would StatCast even bother to even be there if it didn't mean anything? Of course,
I felt like
something.
I think he was trolling Chris on purpose because Chris posted the video. I think and I'm not that vain, or I try not to think that like everything's about us because it's the big world out there. But it was just kind of because we just had Dickerson on yesterday, and Chris posted that video and got 10,000 views or something like that. So it was like, I was like, you gotta be the dick there, kind of suggesting something. But what are you gonna say, Chris?
Yeah, no, I think like you said, he likes to kind of stir the pot and play devil's advocate or whatever. And I
which is fine.
At least I hope he's not that dense to understand that, like, hey, the result doesn't matter. It's the fact that he has the ability to hit a ball that far. That's what we're getting excited about, because that's the hardest hit ball by a Tiger in the last 6 years. He doesn't count. Who cares? He did it.
This is a team that's projected to win almost 68 games, folks. Sorry. We have to find our golden nuggets the way they are. It's not like you guys
are excited about something. Yeah.
Exactly. You guys are potential World Series contenders, and we're sitting here going, okay, well, cross fingers aside, it's like here we are getting excited about Rule 5 pick, which is fine, but I would like to be further along, go back to the mid-millennium. It would be nice. And where the White Sox and Tigers were playing meaningful games against each other. I remember in 2005, 2006, the 2006 season, White Sox and Tigers were neck and neck the entire time. And much I hated A.G. Pruszynski because he was such a douche. And so, anyway, but my inside number is slash line is 354, 411, 596, and an OPS of over 1,000, and 492 plate appearances of one Jose Abreu against the Tigers in his career. So I did that because I was like, oh, it's Tim Anderson. It's Tim Anderson. And I was convinced it was Tim Anderson. But Baseball Reference has this beautiful, awesome app, the Stat Head, which I love. I love that thing. And once you,
I too am a Stat Head member.
Oh, it's so great. It's so
Subscribe
worth
to
the money.
Stat Head today. Please give us a free month.
Yeah, please. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Yeah, Janice has got the right idea. Like, get it. We can put the link in there. But it's one of those things where I was thinking about that too, because I know Whit Merrifield has terrorized the Tigers, and I also think of, oh God, what was it? Billy Butler. Billy Butler is another one that comes to mind. Jim Tomei, no matter what uniform he's on, even with the White Sox, I felt like he did even more. And Jose Abreu, who is by far just such a professional hitter against the Tigers, and it's just in the amount of plate appearances, it's just man, walk the guy, walk him. I don't understand that. Just walk him. So anyway, that's my inside number this week.
Wow, yeah, I agree with you that I think when the phrase Tiger Killer comes to mind, I think of Tim Anderson. But maybe that's recency bias. Maybe that's just like my observations of like just this past season. But I'd be curious to know if that's like park specific. If it's really more so like in Comerica Park at guaranteed rate, or both. So maybe I'll look that up once we're done here. I'm curious now.
Yeah,
is there a pet name for guaranteed rate yet? Is it that people call it like the rate?
So far it's been like the G rate, or just for legal reasons. When we're writing, we have to call it guaranteed rate field, or else like we'll have lawyers yell at us. But typically, like anyone just calls it Sox Park.
My favorite thing about guaranteed rate field is that I remember reading. Like you guys, like the logo is like the downward red arrow.
The downward pointing arrow.
Yeah, and they said, and I remember reading that like when they did the deal, the Sox had like approached them about like, hey, like, do you think we could like readjust it or do something different? And they were just like, no, it's gonna stay. We're paying you guys. and I was like, you know what? That's what you get.
I believe the reimagined logo was supposed to be, just the regular guaranteed rate logo, but like the downward pointing arrow was a home fashioned into home plate, and apparently they didn't like that. They're like, no, absolutely.
Especially because I know that I've been to Guaranteed Rate Field a few times, and I will say that it has some of the best food. The Mini Mimosa Cuban sub.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that too. Yeah.
The first time the first time I ever went to the game was actually I sat in the suite because I was working. It was an internship, and at the time the vendor's like, "You guys want to go to White Sox game?" I'm like, "Sure." So I had to take the blue line to the red line, and that was my first dose of holy crap. Like the south side of Chicago just kind of hit me like, get out the train and you see the difference in the train. You're like, oh, okay, well, I should sit all the way over here because the dude was sleeping on the chair it was just kind of anyway, but it was a lot of fun. And I definitely like going down there. And then the second time I went to the Tigers jersey and I made a mistake of we're walking by and these Sox fans were like, better take that off, man. You got a problem, bro. And we're just like, no, we just want to watch the game. Just gonna go and put my jacket on.
Yeah, there's always gonna be obnoxious jerks there. I think that something similar happened to me. Actually at Comerica Park, I was like maybe like 17, 18, and like these Tigers fans were like trying to start a fight with me. It actually they both ended up being pretty cool. So I honestly don't know how the rest of that story unfolded. Like it was starting with some pretty mild to moderate harassment. And then I guess like maybe my friend started talking to them, and then like they're like, oh, you guys are from Chicago? That's cool. Well, I hope you guys enjoy Detroit. And I was like, okay, thanks. Great. Bye.
I've seen at Joe Louis a couple times Blackhawk and Red Wing fans get into some brawls like it then, and even the Lions games. Like I don't go to Lions games. The Silverdome memories, like, but then even at Ford Field, I've seen a Raiders fan and a Lions fan go at it. There was fights throughout the entire Raiders Lions game I went to, and then there was another game too. It was an exhibition game against the Bills, and I don't know what it is. It's just a strange thing. And
I've got an idea.
What's that?
I've got an idea of what it might be. It might be people getting together and drinking for about 4 hours before the game starts.
That's usually it right there. Yeah. Yeah.
I have one. I've got one. I've been to Comerica once, and I forget the season. You guys might be able to recall it. I don't know. But the White Sox, my dad took years ago. My dad took me to like a 4-game series when the Sox were in Detroit, and at the time the Sox had like a 2-game lead in the Central, and it was like maybe middle part of the season, and I was all excited because it's like I remember thinking, you win a game or two here, you keep the lead, whatever, and they got just swept the hell out of Detroit, and I just remember being devastated because they lost the lead in the division and then never got it back for the rest of the season.
I think that was 2006, Chris. Does that sound right? I think that sounds about right.
It was lit. It would have been later.
Tigers were leading for most of the 2006 season. I would think it was like 2011 or 2012.
Oh yeah,
20, yeah,
okay,
yeah. It was one of those seasons for sure.
Yeah.
And but I remember Tiger fans. This is just random, but like the Tiger fans next, like Rick Porcello was pitching, and they were trashing Rick Porcello and I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I remember my dad and I were like, I think he's pretty good. And they're like, no, he's garbage. He's garbage. Yeah, but no, the Tiger fans were being really, really nice to us. But I think that's also because that was like the 3rd game. And like I said, they got just 4 games swept, and that was not particularly fun. But we had good Greek food, I guess, that night. So
yeah. Greek Town. Yeah.
Greek Town's really good. And it's, I don't know, just one of those things where every time I went to Guaranteed Rate, I was actually pumped because I know it's kind of an older stadium, but there's definitely an atmosphere to it. And I've sat in the upper section too. I went there 4 times, and every time I don't want to go to Giordano's because cheese doesn't agree with me anymore. I'm a little older now. I have to watch that. Anyway.
Same here. Same. Yeah. Yeah.
The lactose intolerance sucks.
It does. It's not fun.
I missed, and it's like too, like where it's a point where I have to load up with, my wife will remind me about, make sure you take your lactose pills and all that stuff. But at any rate, we're doing a new feature, and it's called Detroit Tiger Card of the Week, and it was a gentleman by the name of Christian Anderson who sent this in, and I really appreciate the effort that he went into this. And so it doesn't have to be for us, for you folks. If doesn't have to be a Tigers card or anything like that, but the card of the week he did was involving a former Cub in Dickie Knowles. And I'm going to present it on the screen because I thought it was really, really cool. And let me just put this on another screen here real quick. But so for anybody who's watching on YouTube later, you'll see what I mean. But it's one of those things where I thought about it, and all these random cards I have a lot of doubles growing up, and I don't know about you two, but Chris, let me start with you. How many cards do you collect? I mean, do you have a lot of old cards on you?
I still have like 2 milk crates full of boxes of baseball cards. And they're all from like 1989 to 1991. I just had this intense baseball card collecting period. And then they flooded the market, and it was a disaster. There was 7 billion different brands of cards, and each pack was like $8. And but yeah, I've got all the 89 tops and 1991 upper duck you could ever want.
Yeah, so Dickie Knowles. So this is this has a stamp that you discussed now with the Tigers here. But yeah, he was part of the 87 run, and so that was his card of the week. And I really like this idea, but that was a really good card to pick, considering that when I was looking through newspapers.com, which is a really good archive site, I couldn't find anything with him on it or on him in the Tigers uniform. Usually they have a picture of some sorts, and they did not. And my card of the week, I have it with me, is Ricky Henderson. And he is stacked on I don't know if you guys ever seen this card before. Yeah.
So I've seen that photo, but I don't think I've seen that card. Oh my goodness. Yeah. He looks good. Yeah.
This is someone who's in left field too. So yeah, this is, I think this is 1992. So it's a score card. I also had a Nolan Ryan too that I wanted to throw up there as well. But anyway, that's my card. If anybody wanted to contribute one.
Yeah.
I didn't realize we were supposed to bring props.
No, I didn't. I did on purpose. I did buy it. You didn't have to.
I've got a card, actually. So I used to collect cards when I was younger, for sure. I would just get like big packs of maybe like the Topps 91 cards, so from the dollar store, and just they're honestly all in a drawer in my childhood bedroom back at my mom's house. I go back in there sometimes and I just look through them. There's also a good mix of basketball cards in there too, so I think I found like a Detlef Schrempf in there, like
Nice.
just like the most
Yes.
random stuff. But I did have a total of 5 baseball cards currently in my house, and I currently have one of them in front of me. So I've got from National Baseball Card Day 2019, I've got a Yasmani Grandal Brewers card
Nice.
right here. Yeah, so his 2019 season with the Brewers was really fantastic. I think probably his biggest contribution, well, he signed with them on a 1-year deal. He knew he was going to hit free agency and land his big bucks the next year. But yeah, he hit multiple home runs. I believe it's not in front of me because they don't have 2019 on this card. I believe he hit like 25 home runs. It could have been 30. Could have been 30. It was certainly up there. But yeah, especially when Christian Yelich went down in September, like this guy was providing a lot of the clutch run production for Milwaukee. So anyway, love Yasmani. I'm so glad he's a White Sox now. That's my card.
Nice.
I do have one that I'm trying to find remember the artist's name, and I'm forgetting now, but there was a guy on Twitter who he does artwork on baseball cards. It's really cool, kind of like glams them out. And there was something, and he works with like the Shoeless Joe Jackson Museum. And I really apologize that I can't remember his name, but there was like, if you made a donation to the museum, he would send you some cards. And so one of the cards that I got sent, which I requested, was this sparkly, I don't know if it'll show through, but this sparkly Dick Allen card.
Dick Allen, nice.
Rest in peace, Dick. But yeah, I mean, I love this card, and also just one of the absolute coolest, not even just baseball players, athletes of all time. Yeah. So that's my, again, like I still definitely have probably all of my baseball cards, probably at my parents somewhere. And what I once thought was going to be my, shoe-in retirement plan. If I were to go back and look, it's not gonna happen.
I had a buddy of mine that used to paid his college tuition with Magic cards.
Wow,
that makes sense. Yeah.
Because some of the rares are so valuable, and he kept them all in mint condition. And no joke, I remember him going. We used to work together at this retail place, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm like, I don't have to take. I'm taking work next month off." I'm like, "Why?" It's like, I thought you were always working. He goes, "I just paid off my tuition." I'm like, "How?" And then he showed me the rares, and he got, for one card, I remember he got close to like $10,000. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
And so when the story, when we end up meeting, I met him, meeting his wife, and then like that was when he was explaining that to his soon now wife. So I was like we were all blown away. He has no student loan debt thanks to Magic the Gathering, where he used to spend packs of cards. He had like my office full of cards, but he knew the rare ones, and so yeah, just pays to play, I guess. I don't know.
Shout out Magic the Gathering, though. I mean, I love. Makes me want to go back and look at some of those cards. I used to trade them at camp for like Coke, like people, not cocaine, but
Wait,
like Coca-Cola.
they're that valuable.
Yeah. I mean, some of those would get you. Yeah, no, but yeah, I'm gonna lie awake at night thinking about if I traded any any rare ones for food.
For a couple of kilos of
worth at least an 8-ball. My big gift for my 10th birthday was the first Darryl Strawberry card. Darryl Strawberry's 83 top graded card. My parents paid $75 for it. That was my big 10th birthday gift. I'd be shocked if it's worth like $3 now. It's like, yeah, sure, this will be a great investment. Darryl Strawberry was a Hall of Famer, and then immediately his career went down the tubes and he turned into a horrible person. Like now, the only way it becomes worth money is if he does something really, really terrible, like goes on a killing spree. So Let's just not hope for that.
But if it
Oh,
happens,
my
if
goodness.
I'll be sitting pretty then. I did say, one of the things when I was looking for random Tiger cuts that I came across, Mickey Hatcher. I don't know, Rogelio, you remember him?
Yeah, didn't
He
was
was
he
the
the
guy who did
red?
the goofball. He may have been, but his big thing was always having giant, ridiculous gloves in
Oh
his
yeah.
baseball pictures.
I want
I
to
don't
look this
know.
up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna try to
I'm
share my
unfamiliar.
screen.
Yeah. Just go ahead and try to share
My-
your sheet.
The browser has blocked my screen.
Lame.
That's a
Maybe.
big glove.
Yeah, there's a couple of them that are.
What the heck? Wow,
Yeah,
that's
I sent you the
incredible.
link. The link's in there, but
Yeah, we'll have to. I'll have to
See,
post
that's
it
the
on
problem. If Aloy had been wearing that glove, he would not have a ruptured pectoral or whatever.
yeah, geez. But anyway, that was my card for the day.
Oh, that's a good one. So, without further ado, though, one of the last segments we like to get into, and it's one. There's so much of this going. It's spring training. We were gonna wait till the regular season, but there's been such a weird mix of stats and news going on, so we couldn't wait anymore. So now it's time for the. It's time for the good, the bad, and the ugly this week, and I freely admit that one of the things that in terms for the Tigers that was ugly on Twitter was apparently the hatred for Greg Garcia. Did I miss something, Chris, about Greg Garcia? That people hated Greg Garcia?
No, I didn't notice. I didn't even see that. What happened?
Oh, Eddie Bajak, one of our listeners said something about like that a lot of people are hating on Greg Garcia, and I didn't. I never had a problem with Greg Garcia. I don't know. I'm just one of those things where you see something on Twitter, and I know sometimes you get tunnel vision when you're on Twitter all day, and I don't know if this happens to you. I know, Sam. By the way, you not be on Twitter. Smart. Like if I can, honestly, I'll just I bow to you on that because I can get off that app and yeah, there it is. Okay.
I just looked at I just searched Greg Garcia and the first result was who hates Greg Garcia? Like
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tiger might report. Yeah.
The tweet underneath it, Greg Garcia doesn't make Tigers roster.
Yeah. I was like, that was where I was kind of like, that's not, I don't understand.
I just looked up Greg Garcia too, and in the people, there's a Greg Garcia with a blue check mark, and it's an old woman licking the back of a man's neck.
Janice's face was great. She's like, wait, what?
Oh
okay.
my, what? Oh, wow.
What kind of Twitter am I on?
Yeah, I was gonna say what kind of dark web are you on?
Twitter after dark. Yeah.
There's some alternate universe where people place bets based on name drops on various podcasts, and they were like, well, if they name drop Greg Garcia, it's like 2,000 to 1, and that just paid out huge.
Yeah, everything's gambling. Is there sports betting in Illinois?
There is,
yeah.
Okay, because we got it here in Michigan like 2 months ago, and the advertising is just insane.
It's annoying. Yeah.
We're just talking about that last pod too. Like every single time, you can go through Facebook, and Facebook does a target ad in anyways, and it's just all of a sudden you're like, okay, Jamie Foxx, shut the F up about MGM Grand app. Jesus Christ.
I gotta show you guys this tweet. Eric Wayne's brain has tweeted Greg Garcia refusing to die, and this is a water bear.
Yeah, water bear.
Yeah,
survive in space.
Yeah, that used to be Phil Coke's brain. Yeah,
I am having a hard time like drawing the parallels between this water bear and Greg Garcia refusing to die.
That's gonna haunt my dreams to see things. All right, so the good, bad, and ugly this week. I'll start with you, Sam. Do you have a good and bad, ugly this week? Oh man.
So I don't know, Janice. I don't know if you want to go in collectively on this because we kind of talked a little bit about it earlier.
Yeah. So yeah. You can go ahead and steal mine. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, whatever. But
No,
we
no,
w-
I'll co-sign on Janice's because I agree with all of these.
right.
Yeah.
We have a good, a bad, an ugly, and a morally ambiguous. So
I like that. Doesn't quite fit into the song, but I like it.
Yeah.
So the good, which was definitely surprising to both Sam and I, was Carlos Rodon winning that 5th starter spot. I said earlier that I was pretty disenchanted with the White Sox bringing him back after they non-tendered him. I didn't think it was an exciting move. I felt as if he was going to be more of a reclamation project for another ball club, but he's looked good in the spring, and so that's what we want. Yeah, Carlos Rodon is our 5th starter. So going to the bad, I think the bad is pretty obvious. Eloy and Adam Engel also being injured. So there, we expect Adam Engel is probably going to return to the lineup much sooner than Eloy is. I know that hamstring issues tend to be a little tricky, so I definitely just don't want to claim things too soon, but with 2 outfielders out, there's definitely been kind of a discussion. There's been some discourse on the lack of depth when it comes to the White Sox outfield. But like we said earlier, if the White Sox were going to take some sort of hit, it might as well be offense-wise, just mainly because Eloy is not a defender by any means. Adam Engel, on the other hand, is. So that is honestly, I feel more painful than losing Eloy. Both suck, don't get me wrong. But yeah, collectively, both of those very, very bad. So it looks like we're going to see it's Leory Garcia season on the south side of Chicago. Right. So going on to the ugly. The ugly is Andrew Vaughn being forced to learn a new position. I feel as if this is probably the most absurd. He is actually playing left field tomorrow. Tony La Russa just confirmed that. So if you want to see some mildly entertaining baseball, it might be very entertaining baseball. Definitely tune in and watch tomorrow's game. Just mainly because I'm not exactly sure how this is going to work out. All right. So now going on to our morally ambiguous. Actually, you know what?
Great is it that we get to tell everybody how?
Oops, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I was going to play some audio and it got screwed up. Sorry, go ahead.
No worries. All right, so actually I screwed this up. Actually, the morally ambiguous is the same thing as the bad. I guess maybe this wasn't as morally ambiguous. I wrote down Andrew Vaughn to play left field. And then I wrote down, I'm sure our Tigers friends will love to hear us unpack that one.
Yeah. I will say, though, going over the bad and the ugly and the morally ambiguous, all things considered, based on how Tony La Russa's second stint at the White Sox managerial, how this one has gone since how it started, and the fact that a week before the season starts, that Tony La Russa did not make the bad or the ugly or the morally ambiguous.
Progress.
That's progress. That's what you like to see. Not the good. I'm not putting him in the good, but I guess he didn't make the rest of them either. So
that's a good point. We talked about that a lot when it first happened, but like, wow, this is insane. But so far out of spring, I haven't heard anything terribly, damning. It's like, all right, he's just a baseball guy.
Yeah. I mean, so far. So hopefully that stays the case. He's letting the guys play future in the clubhouse. So that was the big news.
I wonder if he walks in, he goes, it's got a beat. I like this. Because if he starts pulling the Jim, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jim Leland doing the breakdance walk when he walks out of when they won.
He was big into moonwalking.
Yeah, he did the moonwalking, and one of those moments in Tiger history where where were you when you saw Jim Leland do the moonwalk out of a celebration?
It was the moonwalk and finger guns.
Yeah.
Wow. Oh my goodness! Is there footage of this?
Yes, I'm pulling it up right. I'm pulling it up right now.
All right, yeah, because I need to see this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's better than him yelling at Barry Bonds. I mean, him yelling at Barry Bonds. I'm sure you guys have seen that, but it's one of those things where, I'm just gonna pull it up right now, and I have it. So, ladies and gentlemen, for anybody out there who has not seen this. who's watching this right now, I'm telling you right now, you're in for a treat, and that's me just stalling for time while I get this ready, because I got an iMac, and I've been complaining about this in the last couple of podcasts. That I got this thing in December. I saved up, earned my hard-earned money for this thing, and this thing has been a pain in my ass. Every time I go to do anything, the red Apple circle thing has been circling, and I don't get it. I'm like,
I'm sorry.
No, you're good, man. You're good.
I can't. I'm picturing it, and it's just. I'm picturing the finger gun moon dance here for and yeah, here we go.
Yeah, here we go.
All right, I'm ready.
Let me get past all this
so
stuff
yeah,
right here.
Jim Leland was an absolute beauty. He'd be in there crying, talking about how hard the season was, and then at the end he's out there drinking and doing the moonwalk.
Yeah, so is everybody celebrating? You know, you see everybody having a good old time.
I need this to be as good or better than what I was. I can't be worse.
They're all hugging him. They're all hugging this Tory Hunter.
Oh,
There we go, having a good old moment. You know, and this is here it comes. This is gold. It was like he was like a little kid. Forget about this part. Oh man.
Yeah, those were the good days.
Yeah.
Winning.
There it is.
Got it.
And here it comes. Wait for it.
oh my god. Man, he's like, I need to get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I just also want to say, seeing that team, seeing the video, that's very hard to see, because that team scared the hell out of me, like for a number of years, and so I'm happy to be able to look back now and watch Jim Leland doing that. That was good. I'm gonna add that to the queue whenever I get sad.
Yeah, it's one of those things that can cheer you up, and that, or even Bob Uecker doing the Bob Uecker stuff. Like every time I watch Bob Uecker do anything too, it's just like that. Like that. Milwaukee's blessed. So Chris, what's your good, bad, ugly this week?
So my good. I didn't mean to double up on this. I kind of wrote the Casey Mize velocity thing earlier today, and then went out and watched Casey Mize start tonight. So my good was him. How impressive he was tonight. Fastball sitting 96, 98 for the first three innings, and his cutter was making some really good hitters look silly. He struck out Bo Bichette and Vlad Guerrero in like 3 or 4 pitches with his, struck him out with a cutter. A couple of strikeouts with his splitter. Blew his fastball by Bichette and got a couple of other guys looking. It's the best he's looked in the major leagues, at least so far. And obviously spring training, who cares? But yeah, I mean, I think he just won a job, which was kind of cool. He had to go out there. He'd had a rough spring, and he probably was going to win a job anyway because the Tigers have had some injuries and some COVID. But I think he secured his spot tonight, so that was cool to see. My bad, we touched on it a little bit earlier, but it was the Nick Anderson injury. The Rays have a really good bullpen, but he was one of the best. He's been one of the best, most dominant relievers in baseball the last couple of years. And it always sucks to see, especially a guy like him. He kind of came out of nowhere when he was 28, and he's 30 now. He's only been pitching for like 2 years, and you just hope. They say he doesn't need surgery, but I always worry about that when guys like, I'm going to rehab this, and then they come back and pitch 2 innings, and then they get the surgery, and they're out for like 2 years basically. So I hope that he can come back, because he's really good. And my ugly, where I might need your help, Rogelio. Sure. My ugly was a story from JD Martinez. Apparently has been out. He's been missing time with the Red Sox with a stomach virus he got from eating bad sushi. Which, I mean, there's only one way that goes. And Alex Cora was apparently quoted as saying it was coming out both sides.
Oh,
which is both hilarious and disgusting, and it reminded me of one of my favorite baseball sound bites of all time from Chan Ho Park. And Rogelio, I think you have that for me.
Yes, I do.
I was sick. Well, I had a lot of diarrhea. That's what you want to know?
Your manager said you were sick.
Yeah, I had a lot of diarrhea.
So yeah.
I don't know if this is like some sort of like deja vu, or because I think I have heard that fairly recently. I just like with the baseball world and then the scatological humor world, and then it just like collides quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
the George Brett video.
Which one is that? Wait.
the George Brett video. It's where he's there's it's a backfield spring training. He's talking about how he shit his pants one time in Las Vegas.
I never heard that before.
You've never seen that? Oh my
I've never
god,
seen that.
That's a pretty good one.
I've never seen that. I must see this immediately after we're done with the podcast because I'm all about that. Not all about that scat humor. Just I stopped myself from going, wait a minute.
That's one of the two things we talk about. We talk about scat.
Yeah.
Roger's like, wait a minute. Actually, I'm really into scat humor. Like huh?
I'm the scat man. Oh man. Oh boy. Always good for a good fart joke. Okay, so my good and you said you're ugly. Okay, so my good and bad ugly this week is Michael Fulmer starts off the good, and Fulmer's tonight piggybacking off Casey Mize, 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, and he looked like he is getting comfortable as a reliever. And this is a earlier couple weeks ago we had him when we first started doing this. It was we didn't know where he was going to be. I thought he was going to pitch in the rotation based on necessity, but it looks like he's getting his secondary stuff in order, and it bodes well for the Tigers because they don't really have a long reliever right now that go in terms from a right-handed perspective. You put him along with Daniel Norris as the left and righty combo, or even Jose Urena, who I think Urena is still going to make the rotation, but still, that's good news for him. The bad, and again, it's one of those things where Chris and I feel like we're being dicks, but we're not. I promise. Joe Jimenez, we just pitched 1 inning, but he was still didn't look. His fastball still looks flat, and he is going to be on the roster decision whether he's going to go to Toledo or not to start the season. So he doesn't have minor league options. And the ugly is Jake Rogers going down the AAA. And this is an opportunity. You lose the job to Grayson Griner. No offense to Grayson Griner or anything. Grayson Griner's a fine catcher, but this is where we're at this is Jake Rogers who came over in the Justin Verlander trade. And you got Buckus. I mean, this is a guy who with all this defensive prowess. And I thought like, hey, he changed his swing mechanics. He'll be hitting more power. Hasn't happened. I mean, he's got a sweet sash, and they're doing the whole mustache thing, whatever that's all about. Let's just whatever. But I thought that a lot of people, even in social media, were just saying, well, we'll see him in a Tigers uniform, which is nonsense. Calm down. But it is kind of ugly because I thought he would grab the backup catcher job, and he didn't. So it's frustrating, admittedly, but at the same time, maybe we'll go down to Toledo and hit better. Who knows? Isaac Brady's going down there. Isak Brady's going down to Toledo was not necessarily ugly. It was kind of expected because he's the kind of bat who needs regular at bats, and he was going to get it here. It looks like the Tigers are going to carry 5 outfielders for him, kind of about, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, I mean, we got former White Sox Nomar Marza, who's on the team.
Yeah,
White Sox need another outfielder.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Good memory.
I'm sure like we both have just lots of shared trauma regarding Nomar Mazara. I do appreciate that his only home run was hit off Trevor Bauer last year. That was my favorite Nomar Mazara moment of 2020. You
both in your language, not saying it. Janice, you were shaking your head as before you even said anything, like subconsciously you're like, no. And you picked up on that.
I mean, I'll just say like he's one of those people that I just like I don't want to like dash the hopes of the fans, but I mean he is awful. And like
putting it gently, Sam.
He has that thing that like in sports people I think have a hard time with, but it's like it's possible that because like it's almost like people struggle if a player is bad but they're young. It's like but they're young, they're still young, but then you realize like as they get old it's like but they might also just be bad, and then at a certain point it's like they might have as much time to develop or work it out as possible. But yeah, I mean we'll see. I'm not rooting against him. Well, I guess in a sense I am, but also I think if he finds his stroke some more, that'll be surprising to me. I'll say that.
Also, too, I mean, 2020 was just a weird year for many players. I don't necessarily want to address Mazara's 2020 as being uncharacteristic, but I do remember even after the trade happened that a lot of people were like, this is going to be the year he breaks out. This is going to be the year he breaks out. And so I don't know. I don't see him breaking out, if at all.
Now, that being said, I have no doubt he'll crush the White Sox. I have no doubt.
Probably.
He will bat something like 840. He will not. You will not be able to get him out. But no, I don't know about against everyone else.
Yeah, I predict a very high on base percentage for Mazara because White Sox pitching is going to pitch around him. I'm picturing something just like a 400 plus on base percentage against White Sox pitching.
Go ahead, Chris.
I was just saying, there's not. We all think he's going to make the roster, but it's not necessarily a guarantee. They only gave him like $1.5 million. That was the deal.
That's about right. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, the other option is to send Victor Reyes to Toledo, which they can do. It's no big deal. But, the radio announcer, I just say that there are people who think that Victor Reyes is better than Nomar Mazara, and it's not that crazy to think about. I mean, Victor Reyes can at least play all three outfield positions.
That would put him ahead of him, in my opinion. Yeah.
I guess the big appeal of Mazara was that he had a left-handed bat. So, and that he was definitely going to be used as a platoon guy with Adam Engel. So I guess my question is, when it comes to the Tigers lineup, are you guys like that hard up for left-handed bats? Is there kind of a surplus, huge need?
Well, so what's interesting, I mean, the Rule 5 kid we're talking about, Akil Baddoo, has really put a wrench into all this because he's a left-handed.
Right.
He played 30 games in high A 2 years ago. And that's the height of his reach so far. He's got good tools, but nobody really expected to come in and win a job. I thought maybe he performed really poorly and they could trade for him. But he's been their best hitter in spring training. And he's tied for the lead in home runs. He's got the most steals, and he's a left-handed hitter. And then Reyes is a switch hitter, and they've got Willie Castro's a switch hitter, Candelario's a switch hitter. So they don't necessarily need. I mean, they can always use left-handed power, but they're not dying to have left-handed hitters. Even Nico Goodrum is a switch hitter. So, I don't know. He could be the odd man out. We'll see what happens.
But in terms of from a power presence, we're talking about a team that hasn't had 20 home run hitter since 2016, and that was Miguel Cabrera. And so I think the reason why I thought my rationale when I did the piece back in December about him projecting to be in the lineup or for the Tigers to make a play is because they were interested in him before the White Sox made a trade for him last year. And so the front office tends, when they like their guys, and they try to stick to almost type, which Robbie Grossman kind of broke that type a little bit when they signed him. But Grossman, we don't know. The one thing about Robbie Grossman was his numbers last year in Mirage was a model of consistency going forward. And so the Tigers outfield is not the White Sox in terms of just from a power standpoint either. So I think I hate to say this, but just because the Tigers are not spending at all, they had to sell. And I'm not trying to say Mazara's I can't say that, but it's just, they really weren't going to go after George Springer. They weren't going to get somebody like that. And so bargain shopping and it's get those DVDs that right before you ever go to the gas station, see DVDs on, so you're like, what the hell is going on? That's how it is with that. That's how they are sometimes with that kind of stuff. And again, it's just you guys have had better experience with him than we have, and so I don't even
more experience. I would say
more experience. Yeah. But it's
and I do apologize. We're coming from our high horse of our great replacement for Nomar Mazara, Adam Eaton, our big.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah.
Adam Eaton's my neighbor. Adam Eaton lives 2 minutes from my house.
Really?
Yeah, he lives in random mid Michigan for some reason.
Well, because remember his
random as hell.
Yeah, it's a fun fact. His wife actually went to the same high school I did, and she was a very good softball player.
This is the Adam Eaton podcast.
Yeah, so the Adam Eaton.
No,
his wife was part of the largest winning streak in school history in her softball team, and she got recruited by University of Michigan. I think the softball team. This is after I graduated high school. They went 36-0 or something like that. They were ridiculously good. Yeah, and
dang.
Yeah, well, I went to a Catholic school, but fun fact was I didn't find this out till later that they locked in the tuition for everybody from the first grade to 12th grade, which you're not supposed to do. When you get to high school, you're supposed to charge more. So that's the reason why my school became a powerhouse all of a sudden nowhere, is because they were able to keep people at a cheaper rate.
We need to draft to just is like eating facts.
At meat and X, yeah. So there we go. So that's probably why it was in the area. So that's our non sequitur there that we decided we went off on for whatever reason.
Yeah,
but
sorry about that.
not you. I'll apologize. But yeah. So at any rate, the last thing I wanted to wrap up the podcast with is in terms of predictions right now. I know that it's like the hot take thing to do, the kind of like lay up a prediction, but I'll start with you, Janice. In terms of where you see the White Sox finishing this year, based off the rotation, based off a very good, I think a really good, to me at least, a good farm system that's got some more positional talent depth than Detroit does, that can be ready to go. I'm not sure how many of the prospects are ready to be right on the cusp, but where do you see the White Sox finishing this year?
Oh man, I think the division is definitely winnable for the White Sox this year. Probably the biggest competition always, and probably will be for a little while, is the Twins. So we've spent many hours on our podcast kind of dissecting the Twins and say where they match up to the White Sox and where they will possibly be pains in the neck in the future. But also too, there's like similar pains in the neck throughout the entire AL Central as well. So just being really scarred from last year, I think, Cleveland is also going to be a giant pain in the ass too. That 1-2 of Cesar Hernandez and Jose Ramirez do not want. Continuing on though, I feel as if, especially just looking forward to the playoffs, those division series are going to be so incredibly crucial. Just given just the state of injury so far, I feel as if the White Sox, like there's no excuse as to why they can't win the division, and they should be at least be able to advance to the ALCS. Like that's exactly like where I think they should be. And that's kind of where everyone expects them to do too. I feel as if, there's been years of tanking, years of rebuilding. And so kind of like what I had a friend of mine who runs a Cleveland podcast last night. He basically was like, the White Sox are there. The White Sox are here. And I was like, yeah, you're absolutely right. But you kind of lose perspective. You kind of lose sight, just kind of years and years of like losing seasons. And I think like last year might have been the only season where they've finished above 500 in quite a while. I think even in 2019, anytime the White Sox would be even approaching 500, it would be this giant joke. It would just be just something just like completely out of reach. So I think at this point, I think it's time for the White Sox fan base in general to expect more out of this team.
Yeah, I agree. I think, before, I'll just kind of separate it a little bit just with the injury news today. But before the injury, I was looking at the division and I was sort of thinking, even as close as the Sox and the Twins can kind of be right at the top, I think I would have given the Sox an edge, and sure, it could be biased or whatever, but I think really that lineup is just pretty terrifying, especially with Eloy in it. I think that now maybe that edge, the slight edge that I would have given the Sox as a roster overall, without Eloy, probably drops it back down to even, and we'll see maybe a little bit less. That said, as I said earlier, and we've kind of been talking about throughout, I still think that this roster is incredibly strong. As Janice mentioned, it's just weird for me to like accept that going into a season with these kinds of expectations. And so when, hopefully they come hot out of the gate and they stay healthy, but I think that the division, even with the injury today to Eloy, the division should absolutely be, theirs for the taking as far as expectations. And I think a lot of that's just going to depend on starting rotation health. They've got a good amount of depth in the bullpen where if a couple of guys get, knocked around there, which we'll see what happens. And again, I just think that lineup is too good to take too much of a hit, even with Eloy out of it. So, my expectation, I'll just say, I think my expectation and maybe what the team's expectations should be are a little bit different. But at least I'd say that to say that they should win the division, I'd say should be definitely the team's expectation. I'll sort of believe it when I see it, because last season they were in a great position, even in the shortened season, to take the division. They threw it away.
They threw it away.
They threw it away. So I don't know. Like, I can't say right now, oh, I think they're definitely going to win it. But if I'm being honest, I think that they absolutely could and certainly should. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, it's in terms of even Cleveland, people forget that Cleveland still has that really good pitching staff. And I mean, despite or being gone, Jose Ramirez, yeah, he's another Tiger killer too. That can just every time I just think of his name, it's just like, ah!
Same here. You and me both. Yeah, Jose Ramirez just makes me like, oh my goodness.
It's just so, it makes me so angry.
He never changes his expression either. He's got that same face no matter what's going on. Yeah. And he just murders everybody that he faces.
He's like the Kawhi Leonard of basebal in a way. He's just kind of just always expressionless and just like.
I wonder if his laugh is the same way though. Like, I just wonder if he's got that laugh too. It's just but my favorite, by the way, non sequitur again. My favorite Kawhi Leonard, the NBA on NBC Music. Ever seen the matchup? You ever hear that, Janice?
It's incredible.
Yeah. It's
no,
amazing.
Wait. Maybe I can't remember.
Oh man,
it's pulling it up.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up because screw it, because you have to hear it. It's one of those things where Cleveland's bullpen too has also gotten better. I mean, again, I've talked about this with Jeff Ellis on Locked On Indians too. He's talked about the outfield; it's gotten better, and Cleveland's farm system too. I mean, Tristan McKenzie's going to come up this year. I thought he was really good against Detroit last year. And so I don't know, like that. I can't count out them at all. And even with Jose Barrios too, that's another variable too. If Barrios can get on his game, I mean, it gives the Twins another element.
I don't even know where you're sitting at. Like.
Okay, I've never heard that before. That's fantastic.
Oh man, I'll send you the link. I'll DM you the link because it's.
I think I want to use that as like workout hype music now.
It randomly.
The thing that always made me feel bad for Kawhi with that is like, this is a guy who has obviously, like, he doesn't give away anything really. Doesn't, in interviews and whatnot. And the one time he shows like a little emotional, like a laugh in an interview, it becomes meme.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
and that randomly came up. I was doing something at work and I was doing a presentation. I had music playing and it came up on a playlist I made on YouTube. And all of a sudden, it got really quiet. And then you hear him say that, and all my bosses look up when you're like, and like. It's just a bunch of, I work, my day job is a financial institution. They're looking at me like, what the hell was that? And so, but like I said, it's gonna be a very competitive year for the White Sox, and I think they're gonna win a division easily. I think that even a team like the Royals are gonna be a pain in the ass to them for whatever reason, because I think the Royals have enough pitching to where even for whatever reason, I just think of like the White Sox. Correct me if I'm wrong. Don't they? When they go to Kansas City, they don't really play well over at Kauffman, do they?
They don't.
You're right.
They don't. Yeah.
And so I think that's with the Whites. And again, the Royals are not exactly. They're not good, but they're also not bad. They have some developing talent. So I think there's going to be a team that you see the White Sox winning 4 in a row, and for whatever reason they get swept by the Royals, and you're just like. So
that's a recurring theme throughout history. It just seems as if even good White Sox teams lose against the Royals. That's just sort of like a trailing constant over the course of time. I think we've come to accept it as White Sox fans.
Mm-hmm. I'm just happy that like Billy Butler no longer plays baseball. He haunts me at times. Just there's like all those names from some of those teams that just the White Sox could just never get out, and it didn't matter.
Lorenzo Cain was another one of them. Love the guy, like love him on the Brewers, but total White Sox killer back in the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm dating myself here, but a guy like Kevin Appier, when he was pitching for the Royals, and then even when Johnny Damon was a Royal, I mean, people forget. I mean, he just
Jermaine Dye.
Oh yeah, Jermaine Dye. There we go. Although
famous
Chicago,
White Sox.
yeah, famous, yeah. Them and Bo Jackson too. That's another former Royal White Sox connection too. So, what do you guys want to? This is the time of the podcast at the end. Where do you guys want to plug? What do you guys have coming up? And by the way, how are you doing on your bracket, Janice?
Are you talking about the 108 tourney?
The 108 tourney. So explain the 108 tourney
Oh my god,
to Tiger fans. That, by the way, because I saw that your retweet of using the comedian from TikTok, and it cracked me up. But this 108 tournament sounds pretty epic and pretty sweet. So what is this all about?
Absolutely. So I've already had to explain the tournament to my therapist. So I definitely have this like card in my back pocket already. But essentially, the 108 tourney is a tournament organized by this White Sox fan group called From the 108. Section 108 at Guaranteed Rate Field is a section in right field of the ballpark that is infamously known for being blocked by a giant foul pole. So the views from the 108 are definitely limited. So that's kind of the running gag there. So you might see, the whole idea of 108ing means that you're pretty much just there to drink. You've got an entire like giant ass foul pole in front of you. You might as well just get drunk. So that's where the concept of 108ing comes from. So essentially, this tournament, the chairman of From the 108, they take a lot of the big accounts from White Sox Twitter. So they take media personalities, beat writers, just people who are content creators. They picked yours truly. So I'm in the tournament this year, you vote in Twitter polls. And there's a bracket. It's all very detailed, and it's all very, in some cases, cutthroat. In some cases, it's a really friendly competition. My opponent today, really sweet girl by the name of Peyton, she won her last round by doing a very clean bong rip. So much much respect to her. She didn't bong rip, actually. She didn't create another bong rip video. I feel as if that would have put me underground if she would have done that. Essentially, I won my last round. So I'll be advancing, and I think like the next matchup, which I believe is the day after tomorrow, I'll be going up against an opponent in the finals for my bracket in particular. So that is the 108 tournament, which it's essentially a popularity contest on Twitter to boil it all down.
I didn't get into the 108 tournament this year, but I am actually in the Elite 8 of the NIT, the 108 NIT, which is not as talked about. But I mean, I won the 108 CBI last year, and they were new coach, whatever, and so this year didn't make the NCAA tournament of the 108. But we're making a run in the NITs. I think next year might be the chance to really win it.
Well,
not win it all, but.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did you run ISO the whole time, or was it more like the infamous Rick Pitino full court press that he's run every in tournament time?
We've been trying a lot of different things. I mean, like I said, when you're in the NIT, it's just about getting some experience out there and showing the guys what it's like to play in a postseason. But I think they're afraid. I think that they've got me circled for next season as kind of like the up and comer. So we'll see what happens.
Like the classic pick and roll kind of thing, and you can do what was it? Trying to think of the Stockton Malone. Do you have a kind of that combo there for yourself?
Exactly. Yes.
I'm trying to think of other basketball cliches, and I could think of easy ones for Chicago, the Bulls, but as a Pistons fan, look, I will say this: as a Pistons fan, I have much more respect for Jordan than I've ever had after watching The Last Dance. And so, but growing up, I was oddly enough attracted to Northwestern basketball because Ricky Birdsong was a coach at UAD Mercy before he went down to Northwest. And unfortunately, the way he passed away was sucked. But anyway,
I actually live in Evanston, and so I know
really?
all
Wow,
about.
okay.
Yeah, I know all about Ricky Birdsong. They actually do a 5K in his memorial every year here.
Well, that's awesome. Oh.
Yeah. Oh, who is that? Oh my God,
No,
Adobo.
It's Charlie. It's actually his birthday, but
Happy birthday, Charlie. Can he hear
Yeah.
me? I want to yell at him. Happy birthday.
Every time we do a podcast, he gets stuck down here in the basement with me, and he just decides to attack all his chew toys and plastic things. So if you hear thumping in the background, that's him. I was trying to stop him, and then he just started like growling, making like fart noises. So I was like, oh.
I didn't hear a single
thing. Noises, like not like actual farts, like.
No, yeah. Fortunately, he's not too bad with that anymore. We changed his food.
Yeah. Dog farts are certainly a wonder to behold. I have a dog too. She's not here right now though, but I guarantee you, her farts can be rancid.
Yeah, my
Other
dog
people
will
are
just
more responsible with their dogs and more professional than me. My dog just shows up every podcast.
Yeah, well, yeah, Lucy's in the other room. She'll be same thing, farting up a storm in there because I've given her food when I'm not supposed to. But anyway, but yeah, if there's any articles, do you guys want to promote or anything else before we get out of here?
Yeah, totally. So our podcast, we actually just recorded before we jumped in here with you guys. We recorded with the Angels writer for SB Nation, just basically previewing the first 4 games of the season. That episode should be dropping tomorrow. So check it out on SouthsideSox.com. You can follow the podcast at Northside Sox Pod. I've got a couple of things coming out next week. More White Sox related, but I also cover the greater scope of baseball as well. I had a Baltimore Orioles article come out this past week, pretty cool. So I'll also just have a myriad of things, but I promote all my stuff on my personal Twitter. It's Scurriosa, SCURIIOSA. Sam, you got anything?
Yeah, I think this weekend my birthday's on Tuesday, so I think I'm gonna maybe drink like a bottle of maybe like Bullet bourbon or something, like a 5th. I'll take that down. So that's my plug. Just like pray for me. is my
All right.
I was gonna say something like I was gonna say something like drink some Old Style or a Steel Reserve or something like that. Like just
yeah.
That was one weekend I spent in Chicago when I went to go see the Michigan Northwestern game. Was to see Jim Harbaugh's one of the first seasons when it was raining outside at Ryan Field. And I was blown away how Ryan Field looked like something like a glorified high school stadium, because it was like, this is it? This is Ryan Field? What the hell is this? And then taking a train back, and we were drinking the entire time. And this is my mid-30s. I'm like, oh, yeah, my buddy Chris, for whatever reason, newly married, was like, let's go dancing. What the hell are you talking about?
Dancing?
We're going dancing. We're 34 years old. You're a surgeon. What the hell are we gonna go dancing? He's I just got out of the house and then
cut up the dance floor.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, yeah.
So we were drinking.
Exactly.
I spent the whole weekend drinking because I just the fact that we had to do that. But anyway, can recover the same way, and we spent the whole time getting some really good Chinese food. I can't remember where we got it from, but my buddy lived not too far away from Lakeshore, and it was such a good time. But anyway. I barely survived that weekend drinking just to stay warm, because we were soaked from the rain from that Northwestern Michigan game, and that was such a crap game too. I think there was like 10 or 15 drop passes, and
oh my man.
Yeah. So, but yeah, thanks so much for joining us. We really appreciate it, and check out all our great content over at MotorCityBengals.com. Chris has got that. You got a Sweet 16 article you got coming out, Chris, soon.
Yeah, I'll try to put it out tomorrow. Yeah, it's just basically your rooting guide for the Sweet 16 based on Tigers from those schools.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's good.
Cool.
That is pretty awesome.
Pretty cool. Yeah. You should have checked that out. That sounds pretty awesome.
We'll see. Hopefully I can write it well.
Yeah, and make my case for Tarek Skubal to make the Rookie of the Year, because he was in part of the conversation. So check that out. All the great content. Also, give a shout out to Uper, who wrote a really touching piece about his father who passed away last week. And not to end the podcast on a sour note, but Uper is part of our Minor League Report podcast, and he's a good dude. And the way he wrote in honor of his dad was very touching, very a nice tribute. And so that hit home closer to me for reasons that everyone knows who listens to the podcast. So, but yeah, that was really well done by Uper. So check out all the great content at MotorCityBengals.com. We'll see you next week. Have a good week, everybody. End the podcast.